A very good day to you and welcome to this service for Sunday the 14th of February 2021 from Nottage General Baptist and Unitarian Chapel. The music you just heard was provided by Mr. Philip Oren of Mumbles Music Ministry, and you might have recognised it as My Funny Valentine, which was written by Richard Rogers for the musical Babes in Arms. And we begin our service by joining together in prayer. O God, who is not far from any one of us, but nearer and more present to our souls than are our own bodies, grant us the spirit of prayer, which is the key that can unlock the kingdom of heaven within us, and admit us to all that is good, beautiful, joyful, and worthy. Teach us day by day to love you with all our hearts, with all our soul, all our mind and all our strength. Teach us day by day to love our neighbours as ourselves and to serve one another in love. Let love be the strong link between person and person, between nation and nation, between religion and religion. May we believe in the glory of love on the earth, which is our home. Help us to live by faith. Give us love to show our faith by our works, that those we meet may honour your providence, which never fails. In all we do and in all our work, make us seemly, diligent, worthy. May we never forget the kindness that surrounds us in the present, nor be careless of the treasure we have inherited from the past, but have a lively sense of our debt to our brothers and sisters and loving remembrance of departed generations, so that we may reverently carry forward the work of the ages with daily endeavour as faithful stewards, to enrich the same by a good conversation and a holy life. Amen. The reading I have chosen for today's service is by the poet and Sufi mystic Khalil Gibran, and it's from his seminal work, The Prophet, and it's entitled On Love. When love beckons to you, follow him, though his ways are hard and steep. And when his wings enfold you, yield to him, though the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you. And when he speaks to you, believe in him, though his voice may shatter your dreams as the north wind lays waste to the garden. For even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. Even as he is for your growth, so he is for your pruning. Even as he ascends to your height and caresses your tenderest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall he descend to your roots and shake them in their clinging to the earth. Like sheaves of corn he gathers you unto himself. He threshes you to make you naked. He sifts you to free you from your husks. He grinds you to whiteness. He kneads you until you are pliant, and then he assigns you to the sacred fire, that you may become sacred bread for God's sacred feast. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. But if in your fear you would seek only love's peace and love's pleasure, then it is better for you that you cover your nakedness and pass out of love's threshing floor into the seasonless world, where you shall laugh, but not all your laughter, and weep, but not all of your tears. Love gives naught but itself, and takes naught but from itself. Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed. For love is sufficient unto love. When you love, you should not say, God is in my heart, but rather, I am in the heart of God. And think not you can direct the course of love. For love, if it finds you worthy, directs your course. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself. But if you love, and must needs have desires, let these be your desires: to melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody to the night. To know the pain of too much tenderness. To be wounded by your own understanding of love, and to bleed willingly and joyfully. To wake at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving. To rest at the noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy. To return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise upon your lips. That ends our reading from the poet Khalil Gibran. And now we will listen to a hymn that is sung for us by the members of the Unitarian Musical Society, and it's The Flame of Living Fire.
Oh, for the
Would you now once again join me in a period of prayer and quiet contemplation? Praise to the one whose love stirs the ancient embers and sparks the breath of prayer. Praise to the one whose love entices the wandering and beckons the confused. Praise to the one whose love grows wings on the weary dreams of the discouraged. Praise to the one whose love soothes with the ointment of mercy and transforms with the touch of compassion. Praise to the one whose love threads the energy of friendship. Praise to the one whose love tickles the soul with laughter and urges the heart toward joy. Praise to the one whose love embraces the untamed dances of the passionate. All praise to this gracious one. All gratitude to this beloved. All love to this mentor of friendship. All devotion to this shaper of hearts. God of love, we confess we are sometimes impatient and often unkind. We are often quick to envy and find subtle ways to boast. There are times we are rude and lift ourselves up as we put others down. Loving God, teach us to love. God of love, we confess that we are too often quickly angered. We are often swift to record how often we have been wronged. There are often times we celebrate the misfortune of others. Loving God, teach us to love. God of love, we confess that we often put ourselves first, that we are often reluctant to give and slow to sacrifice, that there are times we hesitate to protect. Loving God, teach us to love. When we are tempted to judge, to assume the worst, may love remind us to trust. When we are tempted to despair, to assume that all is lost, may love remind us to hope. When we are tempted to give up, to assume it will never happen, may love remind us to persevere. I now invite you to join with me in saying the words that Jesus taught when asked how we should pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So, today is February the 14th. Therefore, I hazard a guess that most of you will guess what the theme of this address today will be. That's right, love. But of course, there are many different kinds of love. I think that I can say without any exaggeration that St. Valentine's Day isn't what it used to be. And that's because it began as a commemoration of a 3rd century Christian priest who was martyred in Rome. He was martyred for defying an order from the emperor, who was so concerned that he couldn't raise armies due to young men falling in love, that he actually banned marriage. However, Valentine defied these orders and went ahead and married couples anyway. By the Middle Ages, St. Valentine had become associated with the union of lovers under conditions of stress. And by the 20th century, his holiday was being celebrated by the widespread exchange of romantic little messages, unsurprisingly called Valentines. And this must have displeased the Roman Catholic Church, because in 1969, St. Valentine's feast was dropped from the Catholic liturgical calendar. Perhaps one way of thinking about this evolution is to say that St. Valentine's Day began as a commemoration of spiritual love, before later becoming a celebration of committed interpersonal love, and has latterly become a rather commercialised carnival of romantic love, a Hallmark cards holiday, so to speak. Now, I should say that I have nothing against romantic love. Whenever I officiate at weddings, I often describe romantic love as a great gift. But I then go on to explain that it's not a sufficient foundation for a strong, devoted partnership. What I'd like us to do now is to think about love between two human beings in relation to these 3 dimensions: romanticism, committed partnership, and spiritual love. Let's start with romantic love, the Romeo and Juliet variety, so to speak. Now, the Song of Solomon in the Hebrew Bible does a pretty good job of describing the feelings of two people who have fallen in love, hopelessly fallen head over heels in love with each other. Some of the words are, "You have ravished my heart, my sister, my bride. You have ravished my heart with a glance of your eyes. with one jewel of your necklace. How sweet is your love! How much better is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your oils than any spice. Your lips distill nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The narrator, then adds, many waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it. Now, from those words, what do you notice about the qualities of romantic love? Well, it's all very physical, all about arms and legs and lips and hair and eyes and wobbly bits, all about bodies and all about overwhelming desire. It's powerful. It's wonderful. There's nothing else quite like it. I'm sure that none of us will ever forget our first romantic experience. Yet, there are some downsides to romantic love. There's the pain of not being able to be with a lover in an all-fulfilling way all of the time. And that pain reaches its extreme form in Romeo and Juliet, when each of the lovers takes their own life, when each thinks the other is dead. Romantic love also tends to be objectifying of the other, focused on the body of the other and on the desire for physical gratification. It exists largely in fantasyland, either never being consummated or slipping away as real familiarity with the other person grows. Many social scientists have described romantic love as essentially a form of narcissism. What one loves isn't actually the other, but one's own image of the other. One loves one's own projection of what an ideal lover should be, which ultimately bears little resemblance to the actual person to whom the affections are directed. Romantic lovers also tend to love the state of being in love as much or even more than the actual object of that love. One becomes lost in one's own daydreams and fantasies and romantic feelings and aspects of the chase, like making oneself as attractive as possible, and then despairing about supposed physical deficiencies. So what does a more mature, committed, interpersonal love look like? Well, the essence of true love is mutual recognition. Individuals seeing each other as they really are. We all know that the usual approach is to meet someone we like and to put our best self forward, or even, most often I would argue, our false self forward. One that we believe will be more appealing to the person we want to attract. When our real self appears in its entirety, when the good behaviour becomes too much to maintain, or the the masks are stripped away, disappointment can often come. In true love, in mutual love, individuals usually feel in contact, in touch with each other's core identity. Embarking on such a relationship is frightening precisely because we feel there is no place to hide. We are known. There is also a dynamic dimension to this kind of love. As each person gets to know themselves better, as well as coming to know the other more deeply. Honesty and openness are critical, as is the commitment to put mutuality of relationship ahead of power, ahead of any attempt to control the other. Mutual love is not something that we fall into or that falls into our laps. After the giddiness and sliding on the slippery slope of romantic love, mutual love requires practice, discipline, devotion, and commitment. The compassionate, empathetic listening to the other that's required takes a lot of energy, especially when it triggers one's own feelings of powerlessness, helplessness, and vulnerability. Therefore, I would advise making time for these conversations when we're not exhausted, irritable, or preoccupied. Very difficult to say, I know, especially in these COVID times. But we should practice making time for them. The rewards are great. The courage to face reality, to embrace our true self and that of our partner, friend, colleague, and then to grow and change together through our mutual emotional vulnerability. We can only move on from passion to love when the illusions pass and we're able to use the energy and intensity generated by overwhelming, often erotic bonding to heighten our self-discovery. When that self-discovery is linked with openness and empathetic listening to the other, partners and friends grow and change together. Then, in the best sense, to love fully and deeply puts us at risk, as Khalil Gibran said in our reading earlier. But when we love, we are changed utterly. As Thomas Merton stressed, love affects more than our thinking and our behaviour. More than our thinking and our behaviour toward those we love. It transforms our entire life. Genuine love is a personal revolution. Love takes your ideas, your desires, and your actions and welds them together into one experience and one living reality, which is the new you. And this gets us close to our next dimension, that of spiritual love. And here, I'm referring to spiritual love between two partners, and not directly to a love of God, to a love of the divine, however you see that. Whenever I conduct a wedding, I invariably read from the 13th chapter of the Apostle Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. You may be very familiar with the words. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not arrogant or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing. This kind of spiritual love is giving and forgiving to its core. Giving generously to one's partner means recognizing when the other person needs our attention and responding. It means freely sharing our time, our skills, and our resources, only to find that by giving in this way, we also receive back. Perhaps the greatest gift we can give, though, at this spiritual level, is forgiveness. Love is kind. It is not irritable or resentful. Now, many of you viewing this video service may remember the film Love Story, starring Ali McGraw and Ryan O'Neill. The film begins with the line, "What can you say about a 25-year-old girl who died?" However, perhaps the most famous line that people remember from this film is the one that says, "Love means never having to say you're sorry." And I've always felt that the story writer got things half right, but also, in a sense, profoundly wrong. Instead, I would say, spiritual love means always being able to forgive the other when he or she genuinely says, "I'm sorry." In the story of the film, Oliver Barrett marries a woman from a lower social class, Jennifer Cavallari, soon after they graduate from Harvard and Radcliffe universities. Now, Oliver's successful, wealthy, but distant father doesn't approve of the marriage, and he cuts Oliver off financially, just as he is beginning to attend Harvard University. And so Jennifer works hard to put Oliver through law school. Then, near the end of their 3 years, his father tries to initiate reconciliation by sending his son and daughter-in-law an invitation to his 60th birthday party. However, Oliver refuses to go and makes Jenny do the dirty work of calling his father to say that they wouldn't be attending. He then becomes enraged at his wife when she adds this comment to Oliver's father over the telephone. "You know, in his own way, your son loves you very much." When Oliver later apologizes to Jenny for his hard-heartedness, she speaks that famous line, "Love means never having to say you're sorry." By the end of the film, though, it becomes clear that Oliver hasn't understood the spiritual point of Jennifer's capacity to forgive. Jenny dies of cancer, and Oliver's father drives to the hospital, finds Oliver, and again tries to attempt reconciliation by telling Oliver how sorry he is. Oliver then uses that famous line as a club with which to hit his father. After saying, "Love means never having to say you're sorry," Oliver walks away from his father, and the film ends. In Oliver's hands, the line becomes a condemnation of his father for supposedly never having loved him. Otherwise, why would his father have had to say he was sorry? And Oliver's resentment triumphs over the spiritual capacity for loving forgiveness he should have learned from his wife. The highest level of spiritual love may be saintly love, such as that exemplified by Valentine and his martyrdom. My Valentine's message today has been pitched slightly lower, however. It can be summarized this way. Give Valentine's joyfully this year, if you wish. But let us not stop at romantic love. If you have a partner, try to practice mutual love, which involves a discipline of openness and honesty and empathetic listening and willingness to change. Next, work on spiritual love. Love which is freely giving and forgiving. Then, perhaps Valentine's Day can be again what it was once meant to be. Thank you for listening, and Amen. Well, notices for this week are that we are still in lockdown in Wales, as I'm sure many people watching this video will know. The First Minister for Wales will be making an announcement on Friday coming, which is the 19th, about how he and his government and the medical experts see us coming out of a lockdown period. I know he has mentioned in the recent past that he's in consultation with the holiday sector about possibly the Easter time, but only if the virus allows. So I don't know how long you will see me preaching from my bedroom, but it may be a little longer yet. As I have said throughout this pandemic, which is almost a year long now, if you need anything, then please do contact us via the Facebook page or Twitter feed, via the website, or via my email address, which is nottage.minister@gmail.com. And we, as a congregation, will do whatever we can to assist you. And if we can't assist you ourselves, we will try our best to put you in contact with somebody who is able to assist you. So please, if you do need any help, we are here for you still. And we look forward to the day when we're back in our chapel, where there are no restrictions and we can worship together properly. Well, thank you for joining us for this service. I know that these are going out across the world with people watching them. So if you're in the United States or Canada, where I know we have quite a few viewers, hello to you. And also the other side of the world who must watch them a day later, I'm guessing. But we bring this service now today to a close with these words. We all emerge from, dwell within, are transformed by, and are crafted by love. May our minds be humbled before this mystery. May our hearts grow hopeful by it. And may we be sustained by this love, always. Amen.